Hi fans, I'm the PC Expert Amateur, and this is episode 36 of the airflow and pressure differential comparison of 120 millimeter fans. And as always, I need to remind you that this is the anemometer or airflow meter that I use. And unfortunately, it only has 4 decimal points of precision for the area measurement that I have to enter into this. And thus, I cannot get it to be accurate enough to guarantee the airflow results that I'm going to show to you. That's the bad news. The good news is that even without that accuracy, I can still rank the fans based on airflow. So I apologize, but I can't afford to do anything about this problem. If you would like to help, you can help by becoming a member here or on Patreon. I've got big thanks to Rudik, the only Patreon member I've got and have had for a year or so. And yeah, I mean that's the way it is. I've invested a lot of money into this channel. That was my own decision. I wanted to do this channel because I wanted to use my understanding of computers to help other people, to provide information for other people. And I do have to say I regret the amount of money that I invested in this because, well, I guess my hopes were way up here for, how well the channel would do. And the reality is something completely different. Anyways, so the other thing that you always have to remember is I use cubic meters per hour, not cubic feet per minute. That's because primarily most measurements for fans are in metric, not in imperial. And imperial is an old, outdated system that is only being used in America to this day, and in certain other countries like in the UK, because of the stubbornness of people not willing to move on and use a better system. Trust me, it's a better system. Okay, so the fans that we're looking at today are this Phanteks SK. It is the F120 SK BBK, and then there's the Thermalright TL-G12, the XigmaTek XOT Colorful. Oh, I'm sorry. I should probably show you what I mean, you can always look it up yourself, but yeah, that's the fan. A lot of these are older fans. Not the Phanteks, but the XigmaTek I think is older, and this is older. This is the PcCooler Dark Knight DN120. Not an older fan. And then I also have another Pano-mounts. This one's very different from the one that we looked at yesterday. And you'll see that soon enough. So that's what we've got to look at today. Now, what I'd like to ask you to do, if you could please look at the information I'm going to put up on the screen. Also look at information about the fans, like visually. What do they look like? What are the fan blade designs? What's the size of the hub? What does the frame look like? That kind of thing. All of those things have an impact on what we're going to be looking at in every episode of this series. So I'm going to show you the measured RPMs for each of these fans, and I'd like you to use that information and whatever other information you find based on the design of the fan. Please don't look at the published results. I mean, it might help, it might not. Sometimes the results are quite different from the results that I get. But I want you to try to learn how to figure out how you can identify a good airflow fan versus a good pressure fan. And yeah, so I'm going to put up on the screen now the RPMs that I measured on these 5 fans. Now keep in mind that with the PcCooler and the Pano-mounts, those two I have 3 fans each of those. So those numbers are based on 3 fans each. And let's take a look at that. And when you look at this, please make sure to think about which fan is the worst for airflow and which is the best, and which is the worst and the best for pressure differential, and put that in the comments. Please don't change it because this is not a competition. There's nothing bad if you get the wrong guess. It's perfectly fine. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do, especially if you haven't practiced. But with this series, I'm hoping that you'll learn. And so let's move on to the airflow chart so that you can see if your airflow guess is correct. Go ahead and put your comments down. Okay, so I don't know if you got it right or wrong, but if you were thinking about yesterday's Pano-mount, well, that is not the right fan for airflow. That is a pretty weak fan, comparatively speaking. But if you notice, all of these fans are within the same basic range from 133.8 to 158.4 for airflow. So none of these fans are particularly amazing. The Pano-mounts is the worst, barely, with the Phanteks, and then the XigmaTek, and then the PcCooler, and then the Thermalright. So not a huge gap here between any of these fans. So I think that if you were to say choose one of these fans, any of these would be basically okay. They're okay for static pressure, or sorry, not static pressure, the airflow, but they're not great as exhaust fans or intake fans. They're just okay. If you can get a fan that's got more power than these, I definitely would recommend that. And here we can see that, again, there's not much difference between these fans in terms of pressure difference either. 65 for the Phanteks, then 67 for the Pano-mount, the Thermalright 68. But it's not the best one this time. The PcCooler's the second place, and XigmaTek actually got the best on this one. So that's a little bit surprising, perhaps. But, just because one fan is the best at airflow doesn't mean it's going to have the best pressure differential, because the pressure differential is based on multiple factors, just like airflow is. But you can say that airflow is one factor in pressure differential, just as static pressure is as well. So let's go ahead and look at the entire list of fans so that you can see how these fans rank and if they're worth. And again, there are definitely better fans than these, but it may be something that you're interested in. So let's go ahead and look at that. And so starting by looking at RPMs again, we can see the PcCooler and XigmaTek are both solidly in the first quartile. And the Pano-mounts, Thermalright, and Phanteks are in the second quartile. So I'm going to show you the rest later on, but we're focusing on this right now. So you can see that, yeah, not amazing fans. They're okay, but they're not really impressive. So let's take a look at pressure differential. But before I do that, I should stop messing with you and show you the actual list. Okay, so here we can see it. PcCooler is the worst of the 5, but not by a big amount. It and the XigmaTek are both in the first quartile for RPMs. And then in the second quartile, the Pano-mounts, the Thermalright, and the Phanteks are there. And we'll look at the rest of the list later on. So yeah, let's go ahead and see the pressure differential now. Okay, so now we can see that none of them are in the first quartile, which is a good thing. But where are they? Let's go ahead and second quartile, nothing. And we see the Phanteks and the Pano-mounts in the third quartile. So that's actually impressive that they rate into the third quartile and the bottom end of it as well. And then the other fans are all here at the bottom in the fourth quartile, the Thermalright, PcCooler, and XigmaTek. Actually, nope, they're not. The Thermalright is in the third quartile too. Sorry about that. But the PcCooler and XigmaTek are in the fourth quartile. So we can see that from the perspective of this list, it seems like the PcCooler and XigmaTek are really pretty great. And, I guess you could argue that they are, except for the fact that, keep in mind that pressure differential is not a specification that's often referenced. And I'm not really sure why it's not looked at. But if you have any theories about why it's not looked at, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. And here's the airflow or ranking, the one we've been waiting for, or hopefully you've been waiting for, because this is the main reason I made this series. The Pano-mounts is just barely in the second quartile there, along with the Phanteks, the XigmaTek, the PcCooler, and the Thermalright. So all of them are in the second quartile, pretty much. Well, I don't know. The Thermalright actually may be in the third quartile, but again, the gap between these fans is not humongous. And now we can take a look down below here. And you can see overall where fans are at in this list so far. And I'm going to scoot this over so we can see the RPMs now. I'm going to go from the bottom up. These are all the best fans down here. And maybe as you're looking at this information, you might come up with some theories on how to know by look and by certain specifications whether a fan is going to be good for airflow. And do keep in mind that airflow is especially important for an exhaust fan, although if you have an intake fan that has good airflow, as long as it's got good static pressure as well, that's definitely a plus. A fan that has both strong airflow and static pressure, not pressure differential, static pressure, are hybrid fans that can be used on intake and exhaust. And that's it. I hope that you found some use in this list, and if there are any questions or you have some ideas that you want to share, please go ahead and do that in the comments. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Sorry, I'm not feeling too well today. Have a great day.
I need to ask for your help. Things have been challenging. Whose life hasn't been challenging lately? So if you can please help me out by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, and turning on notifications, that would be really, really super. Also, if you'd like to help me financially and you can't afford to, you can do a super thanks on my Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, or you can become a member there. Or if you prefer, you can go to patreon.com/GLENNMII and become a member there instead. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Bleeping Computer for their support of my channel. If you need resources for computers, for getting rid of malware and learning about cybersecurity and stuff, Bleeping Computer, BLEEPING computer.com is a great resource. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.